Hi, my name is Susan Ashleford. I'm designer and creator of Sugar Snap Craft It Yourself Jewelry Kit. I'm here with my friend Brittany.
Hello.
And today we're going to make a necklace called Fresh. So you have before you all your parts and pieces that you've unpacked from your kit, and we're going to start making the Fresh necklace. In your kit there is some practice wire. So Brittany is going to begin cutting some of the practice wire to practice making the loop, which is a step we will do a little later. So we want to practice that before we actually do it with the practice wire so that it goes smoothly later on. So you cut it into 3 or 4 inch lengths. And right now we're going to practice making a loop. With your pliers positioned about halfway down the wire, you're going to make an L or a right angle. So you'll bend the wire, and then with your free hand you'll move the wire up over the upper jaw, rotate the pliers, and follow through to form a loop. So that it looks like that. And we'll do it one more time so we get comfortable with this process. Again, you position it about halfway down the pliers, make the L with your free hand up over the upper jaw, rotate the pliers, and finish through, making the loop. So now that you're comfortable with that, we're going to begin the process of making the necklace. You'll take the flex wire, you'll feed on a crimp bead, and you'll do probably about an inch or so from the end of the flex wire, and you'll feed that oval link chain onto the flex wire. And then you'll go back through up to your crimp bead. At this point, you would give your crimp bead a squeeze. You want to be a relatively close distance to the link. You don't want to squeeze too far down because you could sever the wire. Then you'll trim the excess flex wire with the cutter part of your pliers. Careful not to cut the other wire that you want still attached. Then the next step is to place a crimp cover over the crimp bead. Like so, and then you give the crimp cover a squeeze. You don't want to squeeze too hard because you can crush the bead. It's a little awkward sometimes fitting this in place. And give it just a little squeeze. And then you begin the process of threading the pearls onto the flex wire. On occasion it happens that the wire gets a little frayed as you're trying to feed the beads on. If that happens, just give a little snip so that it yields a fresh end. Okay, so you've just threaded all the pearls for one side of your necklace, and you're ready to attach the lobster claw. So you take your flex wire, you feed on a silver bead, where's that opening? There we go. After that, you put on a crimp bead, bigger opening, easier to see. Then you slide on the lobster claw. And then you thread it back through the crimp and then the silver bead as well. And once, it's a little tricky sometimes to get it back through the silver bead, especially because the hole is smaller. And once you get the tail coming back out that end, with your pliers, begin to gently work it down toward your pearls. Sometimes you have to readjust the whole operation. There we go. And you want to get close to the pearls, but not so close. There we go. And you want to leave it a little bit loose so that the pearls move somewhat freely. Then you crimp your crimp bead. Again, not squeezing too tight. You don't want to sever the flex wire. And then you pull out the excess and you trim it with your pliers. Careful not to trim the wire that the pearls are on. Then you'll have a little bit you couldn't get to, but if you just slide the little silver bead down, it'll go over it nicely, concealing that little end. There we go, and you're ready to start the other side. Okay, so now you've got all the remaining pearls, with the exception of the two that are for the cluster. You've got those threaded on the other side of your necklace on the flex wire, and you're ready to attach the extender chain. First, you thread on the silver bead, then the crimp bead, then your extender chain, and now you feed your flex wire back through the crimp and into the silver ball. And this can be a little challenging sometimes. I find it helpful to rotate or twist the silver bead when it wants to put up a fight. And sometimes the problem is that your ends have become a little frayed and you need to trim the flex wire. If you find it difficult with the tool that we've provided, you can use a sharp pair of scissors to cut the end, or a nail clipper, anything with a nice sharp edge. And that will be helpful. As we did before, you will, with your pliers, begin to pull the little tail toward the pearls, sliding all of it down. There we go. And you want to leave the pearls loose enough so that they move a little freely. And then the next step is to do your crimp bead with the pliers. Again, not squeezing too tightly because you could sever the flex wire. Okay, then after that you want to cut the excess flex wire. Careful not to sever the wire that the pearls are on. And then you just slide your little silver bead over that. And now we're ready to attach our pearl cluster in the middle of our necklace. So Brittany will take the longest head pin, thread on the coin pearl, which will go in the middle, making our loop. So you have the head pin, the pliers, you're forming an L or a right angle up over the upper jaw, rotate the pliers, follow through. Then you feed that onto the middle link of the oval chain. With your pliers, you hold the loop and you begin to wrap the wire around the stem, keeping each revolution of wire close to the wire wrap before it, stopping before you reach the pearl, trimming the excess with your cutters, and then wrapping the remaining wire flush with the stem And this can feel a little awkward sometimes too. I find it easiest if you hold the loop with your fingers so that the whole assembly doesn't spin. Grip it with one hand, and with your pliers, tuck the tail against the stem. Now you're ready to attach the other beads to the loop of the coin pearl. So you would thread one of your pearls onto a head pin. You'll repeat the process for making the loop, a right angle or an L, up over the top, rotate the pliers, follow through, attach it to the loop of the coin pearl. With your pliers, hold the loop, and with your fingers, wrap the wire around the stem. Depending how much space you have, it may not be necessary to trim the wire, but you'll always need to tuck it against the stem. Then you have one more pearl and one of the rose quartz beads left to do for the pearl cluster. And you'll repeat all the same processes for making a loop. Attach it to the loop on the coin pearl. Close your loop by gripping the loop with your pliers and wrapping the wire around the stem. So at this point you have just two beads to attach. One of the rose quartz gems in the middle of the pearl cluster, so you attach that to the loop of the coin pearl. And you close the loop on the rose quartz. Hold it with your pliers, wrap the tail around the stem, cut the excess wire, and then trim the tail. Tuck the tail. Now that you have your tail tucked, you'll attach the finishing touches, which is the rose quartz, to the end of the extender chain. And this just serves as a decorative finish. So it's all the same process for closing the loop. You trim the little excess wire. Tuck the remaining tail against the stem. Hold the loop with your fingers. Get a good grip on it and start squeezing. And you've done it. You've made your first piece of jewelry. It looks beautiful. Yay! Thank you for purchasing a Sugar Snap Create It Yourself jewelry kit. I hope you enjoyed learning to make jewelry as much as I enjoyed teaching you. Say bye, Brittany.
Bye.
Bye.